You mentioned one thing I wanted to touch on for a second, which is that like the nature of it being about a conversation or something like that, or speech. The Supreme Court has ruled on this, and they have said that spending money is an expression of speech, and that there is this, and building on Buckley v. Valeo, there is a constitutional protection for corporations, and there's this thing called corporate personhood, where corporations have free speech rights, and if money equals speech, well, you can figure out how that ends up. That includes billionaires as well as actual persons, although I don't know. I still believe that vampires exist whenever I lay eyes on Elon Musk, but like the corrupting of our political system by equating money to speech is the reason that we are here. Like, I want to return to a conversation about corruption, not just in a way that precludes a conversation about capitalism, which is, I think, previously been the struggle about like where talking about political corruption ends. But we have seen a dramatic increase in dark money, PAC money, all of this since Citizens United. And we're at a fever pitch here where it's handcuffed and corrupted the opposition party leadership to the point where you have 8% support for Israel's military actions in Gaza, and you have within the Democratic Party constituency, and only 25% of independents. This Gallup poll shows that, meaning it's just Republicans that support this, and you can't get Democrats who supposedly care about the center, aren't those independents? You can't get them on board on this issue. It's thoroughly corrupted the leadership, a majority of the elected Democrats. So if money equals speech, well, goddamn, are the genocidaires talking. And we also talked about the Palestinians imprisoned in Israel. So this is a good way to talk about some of the more sadistic tactics that the Israeli government is using here. First of all, they're locking up children and torturing them widely for throwing rocks, allegedly. Now, Itamar Ben-Gvir showed up at this Israeli prison and decided to do a little redecorating. But we'll get to clip 6 after this. This is a short one. Look at this. This is what they see in the morning when they go out for their yard time. This is what they see. And one of them, I think, recognized his house here. This is how it should look. So if you're listening on the audio-only version, it's Itamar Ben-Gvir pointing to photos of Gaza being completely destroyed, that he has hung up in the prisons that Israel is holding the Palestinian hostages in to taunt them. Now, Wesley Bell talks about how genocidal Hamas is. We know that Hamas is a resistance group. Not going to be my flavor of resistance group. I would prefer a secular leftist one. But Israel made sure that those were undercut and eliminated so that they could further demonize Palestinian resistance more broadly.
The PLO was demonized with the exact same hysterical, they're terrorists, we can't even sit down with them type of approach. It's the same thing.
And you'll also hear, where is the Mandela? Where is the Martin Luther King of the Palestinian movement? Well, he's been in prison for 20 plus. How long has Marwan Barghouti? 23 years. And Ben-Gvir specifically is taunting Barghouti. Here's some footage of that. I guess so. They're advertising this.
Yeah.
Like during the Biden administration, there was talk that if there was some prisoner exchange, that like Barghouti could. The most optimistic I remember discourse around this was that potentially Barghouti could be freed, but that was way too optimistic because of the threat that he in exchange for hostages, the threat that he poses for Israel, and this was before it was abundantly clear that Israel was completely okay with all of the hostages just dying. But here is that the Ben-Gvir in with Barghouti. You will not win. Anyone who messes with, sorry, go back for a sec. You will not win. Anyone who messes with the people of Israel, anyone who murders our children, anyone who murders our women, we will erase them. We will erase them. You need to know this. It's been this way throughout all of history. Okay, so there's Barghouti.
Clearly starving him too.
Have you, I mean, when we have not seen much footage of him so far. We could bring us on screen now. Yeah. That's one of the many hostages that needs to be freed. And yeah, they're obviously abusing him. I guess we can play 7 here and then we'll open up the lines, but this is a massive attack with a tribute to Barghouti. Just to give people a sense, this was a while ago, but pretty cool stuff. Just showing folks who this guy is at one of their shows in the UK.
Marwan Barghouti is fighting for peace. Israel is should put an end for the Israeli occupation. The policy of assassination, the policy of curfew, of demolished houses, the policy of occupation will not lead for the security. Security will be achieved by one way. By peace, and peace will be achieved by the end of the occupation. No peace, no security with occupation.
Wow, there it is, Mandela. What is happening to Barghouti is exactly the same as what happened to me. Pretty badass. I wish there were some more artists that would take some of these risks.
Also, people shouldn't sanitize the actual methods that South Africans use to liberate themselves as like some sort of purely peaceful Gandhian like revolution. It was not that. Read Mandela's Long Walk to Freedom and about the MK armed resistance. And like some of the darker chapters there. And the truth is that force is going to be needed in this region for righteousness, which is to say against the settlers. Like that Ben-Gvir, like, and all the settlers in the West Bank in general. Like, did people forget about the Louis Theroux documentary? They cannot have a monopoly of force. In fact, a monopoly of force needs to be imposed on the region against specifically those people. And until that happens, and that's not on the horizon, frankly, this is going to continue to happen. Barghouti's going to die. Like, you know, we're seeing an ethnic cleansing. We're seeing a genocide, but we're seeing a specific plan being acted right in front of us with regards to what Israel wants to do with Palestine. And Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, they're not coy about it.
No, they're expressly saying it.
And we have to hear liberal Zionists in this country say, actually, those are marginal figures. They're not.
All you had to do in the 2 days after October 7th was just listen to what Israeli officials were saying, and you would know that they were about to commit genocide. It was very obvious. And it's the same thing with the ethnic cleansing of the West Bank. It's a conspiracy in our media class to ignore it. It's a conspiracy in our elite media class to ignore it. So that's why, you know, independent shows like ours have to cover it, and why when, you know, I go on corporate media shows, I say genocide every time, and I work it into every answer, regardless of if it's contextual or not, because I just can't stand the silence on this.
And it is bought.
Yeah.
So what's one progressive that we see on like CNN? Bakari Sellers. Bakari Sellers on October 7th I strongly support the sustained actions Israel must now take to defend itself and protect its people from terrorism. Bakari Sellers is a guy who has been, let's say, allied, sponsored, whatever, by Zionists since college. And on October 7th, he was say, what did he say? The sustained actions Israel must now take. That's a Nazi statement.
Yeah. Yeah.
And October 7th, horrible that things like that ever happen. What happens is it's the outcome of an unjust conquest, an occupation that's been left to fester by a feckless liberal class like Bakari Sellers and people that think like, well, why doesn't anyone believe us when we talk about standing up for international law in Ukraine? Because you don't give a shit about it for Palestinians. Because the right of return is laughed at by this entire class of people as if it's like, colonizing Jupiter instead of just a matter of international law.
Yep, well said. Felonious Monk, can you imagine the Israelites allowing October 7th to happen? Not sure what you mean by that. Pete, don't call Musk a vampire. That makes him sound cool. Grace McClendon, it's disgusting that Israeli hostages are referred to as such while Palestinian hostages are referred to prisoners of war, including literal children.
Even the ones that were held in prison before October 7th. It's a war, all right. It's a war on the people.
Muddy Mo says, please clip that bit about Wesley Bell. My best friends were extremely disappointed when he was elected over Cory Bush. They're not super plugged into politics, but even they knew it was AIPAC money. That's the other thing is like the AIPAC tag is going to be quite effective for us when we're looking at some of these primary challenges, which are coming.
During his tenure as a municipal judge, this is from the Kansas City Defender, Bell faced warranted scrutiny about the city's existing and exploitative cash bail system. According to HuffPost, Valda City, a small town, doesn't have its own jail, generates more revenue from court fines and fees than the city generates from property tax revenue.
I mean, if AIPAC money should be like metaphorically, like in Inglourious Bastards. Sorry. Well, no, they don't do this. They do it at the end, but throughout, where the Brad Pitt character etches the swastika in the forehead so that they can't escape it.
It's blood money.
Yeah. Metaphorically. I'm using the Joe Scarborough cadence. It's good. Oh, man. Damn. Right-wing Mandela, it is sad to see the left once again not willing to vote blue no matter who. Why will the left not simply back Andrew Can't Hear No Cuomo? He's not dropping out, so you've lost. The left used to know their place as a voiceless, powerless, and hidden pool of votes the Democrats could use without having to give a single concession. So now the left is forcing an apartheid onto the corporate minority of the party with their insistence on backing the Maoist Ayatollah Mamdani.
Y'all laugh, but this is literally what the Koch brothers are trying to do.
Yeah.
They're trying to get billionaires and capitalists described as a protected minority, so that you can't do things like wealth taxes and stuff. Like this is how they're trying to pervert the post-civil rights era law to protect themselves. I mean, it's kind of like,
Yeah. Nikki Naps, regarding sexism and double standards in politics, the two women that ran for president in modern times were referred to by their first names. Yep, that's true. I mean, you're not going around calling them Barack, Donald. It's those.
Joe got it though.
Joe. Just Joe. But I mean, it's very subtle. But this is, America's misogynistic is both like extremely progressive in certain like I guess with women in the workforce, but that's because it serves capital. But like on terms in women in leadership, we are like way behind many countries, even in our immediate like that border us, obviously, like down in Mexico. But with the rest of the world, there's a deeply, patriarchal strain in America that is really the through line is evangelical Christianity that makes it very much more difficult than in other countries. Cole from Michigan, thank you, Matt, for finally saying it. although I'm not sure what it was.
Yeah, I feel like I've kind of been saying this stuff.
I've been
2
saying
years now.
it since the beginning.
Matt's finally come around.
Matt finally supports Palestinians.
I no longer believe in the two-state solution.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.